I spent my whole life believing my dad just walked out on us, that he chose a new life over his own daughter. But when I finally tracked him down, I found out my mother had signed a secret agreement to make him disappear from my life. That's the moment everything Megan knew about her childhood shattered. One dusty folder in an old hardware store, one buried deal between two parents, and suddenly all her anger, all her abandonment, all those nights wondering why she wasn't enough, twisted into something far more complicated. This isn't just a story about a father who left. It's about what happens when the people who claim they're protecting you are the same ones rewriting your entire life without asking. Welcome to Plot Twist Revolutions, where the stories you think you understand get ripped open and the truth crawls out from underneath. Here, every memory is suspect. Every goodbye has a hidden clause, and no parent is as innocent as they seem. Tonight, walk beside Megan as she boards a plane to confront the man she swore she'd never forgive, and ends up uncovering the quiet betrayal of the person she trusted most. Megan used to think airports were magical. As a kid, she'd watch planes slice through the sky and imagine her father on one of them, finally coming back home. The humming of engines sounded like promises then. The smell of coffee and jet fuel like possibility. But on this day, years later, those same sounds just feel hollow. The terminal buzzes around her. Rolling suitcases, overhead announcements, children crying over lost toys. Yet everything inside her is muted, like someone has put cotton in her chest. Her fingers curl around her phone in her pocket, so tightly her knuckles ache. The plastic feels warm, slick from the nervous sweat she refuses to wipe away. On the screen is the ticket she's stared at 100 times in the last week. One way to Willow Springs, her father's town, the town he chose over her. It's about time I find out what really happened, she mutters under her breath. The line to the gate moves slowly, and her thoughts move even slower. She remembers being 8 years old, sitting on the edge of her bed with a backpack already packed, just in case he came to pick her up. She remembers her mother's tight jaw whenever his name came up. She remembers the stories, always vague, always the same. He left. He wasn't good for us. We're better off. Better off. The words always tasted bitter. As she steps forward, someone says her name. Megan. She turns and sees a face that knocks the wind from her lungs. Michael Lee. Same dark eyes, a little older in the lines around them. Same hesitant smile. She hasn't seen him since that chaotic family reunion 15 years ago. The last time her father was even remotely part of the picture. Michael, she breathes. Long time, huh? He lets out a short laugh. Yeah, what, 15 years? Something like that. Her smile doesn't quite make it to her eyes. I'm heading to Willow Springs to see my dad. The warmth drains from his expression, replaced by something tense and unsure. Right, you talked about that back then. That you'd come find him one day. Yeah, well, she tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. A nervous habit she's never shaken. I've had enough of the stories. I want to hear it from him. What the hell he was thinking when he walked out. Michael studies her face, the tightness around her mouth, the way her shoulders are squared like she's going into battle. You really want to know why he left? I have to, she says, voice firm even as her stomach flips. I need to understand why I wasn't worth staying for. Why he just disappeared. There it is, the raw nerve. You think he didn't care at all? Michael asks softly. Of course he didn't. She almost spits the words out. If he cared, he wouldn't have just walked away. No calls, no visits, nothing. Maybe it's not that simple, he says, cautious. Family never is. Sometimes things aren't what they look like from the outside. She cuts him off with a quick flick of her hand. I'm done with excuses. I just want the truth from him. No filters, no sugarcoating. Do you think you're ready for that kind of truth? She swallows, hears the boarding announcement echo above them, and feels her heart pounding against her ribs like it wants out. I don't know if I'm ready, but I know I can't keep living with questions. On the plane, the world shrinks to the dull roar of engines and the soft murmur of strangers. Megan sits by the window, watching the ground fall away. The clouds look peaceful from up here, but inside her, it's turbulence, memories knocking around like unsecured luggage. She remembers that reunion, the last time she saw her father, the way he'd hugged her too tightly, whispered that he loved her, then vanished in a storm of shouting and slammed doors. After that, no more birthday cards, no more promises to visit, just silence, as if he'd died and nobody remembered to tell her. Now she's flying straight into whatever version of the truth he's been living with all these years. When they land in Willow Springs, the air smells different. There's a hint of cut grass and old wood, something small town and stubborn that clings to everything. The terminal is tiny compared to the city airport. Just a few faded posters and a snack stand that looks like it's been there since the 80s. It should feel cozy. Instead, Megan feels exposed, like this place has been waiting for her and knows exactly who she is. Michael walks beside her, hands shoved into his pockets. His presence is a thin thread tethering her to something familiar. He's supposed to be working at an old hardware store, she says, scrolling through her messages. That's what the relative I found on Facebook said. You really want me to come? He asks. I don't want to intrude. Please. She exhales slowly. If I do this alone, I might just turn around and fly back. Then I'm in, he says. Just try to remember this might not be as black and white as you think. The hardware store isn't hard to find. The faded sign creaks softly in the breeze, flanked by dusty window displays of tools and paint cans. As they approach, the scent hits her first. Sawdust, metal, and that particular smell of forgotten corners, like secrets that have been sitting too long. The bell above the door jingles when they step inside. Megan's breathing slows, then quickens. The store is quiet, sunlight filtering through front windows and scattering across aisles of nails, bolts, and buckets. And behind the counter is a man with gray stubble, tired eyes, and hands that pause mid-motion when he looks up. Megan, he says. Her name in his voice feels like a punch, deeper than she remembers, rougher, but undeniably his. Dad. The word tastes strange in her mouth, a mix of accusation, longing, and something she doesn't want to name as hope. His face cycles through disbelief, relief, guilt. Why are you here? His tone comes out sharper than he probably means it to. Defensive armor snapping into place. I came to talk, she says, voice tight. After years of silence, I think I'm owed at least that. Michael clears his throat softly. I'll be outside, he murmurs, slipping back through the door and leaving her to face the ghost who never actually died. The store feels too small now, the air heavier. Megan steps closer to the counter, fingers brushing against its worn edge. Why did you leave? The question bursts out, more fragile than she wanted it to sound. You didn't call. You didn't visit. You just vanished. Was I really that easy to forget? He flinches. I never forgot you. You did a pretty good impression, she snaps, bitterness slicing through. He exhales, shoulders sagging. I thought I was doing the right thing for you by walking away. It wasn't just about me. He rubs at his temple, eyes flicking toward a drawer under the counter. There were agreements, family arrangements, things you didn't know. She laughs, a hollow sound. Agreements, like you were signing for a couch delivery. You're talking about my childhood. He hesitates, then reaches down and pulls out a dusty folder. The edges are frayed, The paper inside yellowed. He sets it on the counter between them like an offering. "This," he says quietly, "is what I agreed to with your mother." Her stomach drops. A hidden arrangement. "I didn't tell you because you were a kid, Megan," he says quickly. "I didn't want you in the middle. She asked me to leave, to stay away. She said it would be better for you if things were clean, simple. One home. One stable parent." The words slam into her. Her skin prickles. "She asked you to leave. Your mother and I were tearing each other apart," he says, voice shaking now. "There were fights, custody threats, lawyers. She told me if I walked away, if I let go, you'd have a calmer life. No battles, no courtrooms, just her. Stable, predictable. And you just agreed." Megan's voice cracks. "You signed a piece of paper and walked out of your daughter's life." His eyes glisten. "There were conditions. I sent money. I called at first. She wouldn't let you talk to me. Letters came back unopened. She told me you were happier without me confusing things, that you didn't ask for me, that you were moving on." Megan feels like the floor has tilted under her feet. For years, she'd held one story close to her chest. Dad left. Mom stayed. One villain, one hero. Clear lines. Now, that story is crumbling. "You were my dad," she whispers. "You were supposed to fight for me. Not just disappear because she told you to. I thought staying would hurt you more," he says, the words dragging out like they physically hurt. "I thought we'd just keep fighting, pulling you back and forth. I told myself walking away was an act of love. The hardest thing I'd ever done." Her throat burns. Her chest feels tight, like there isn't enough air in this entire town. "Do you know what it felt like?" she asks, voice trembling. "Growing up thinking I was so easy to walk away from. I sat there, year after year, wondering what was wrong with me. Was I too loud, too quiet, too much like you, too much like her?" Tears blur her vision. She blinks them back angrily. She has imagined this confrontation 100 times, each one ending with her calling him a coward and walking out. But now there's this new layer. The possibility that her mother had rewritten the script, too. "I never wanted you to feel unwanted," he says softly. "Not for a second." "Then why didn't you break the deal?" she demands. "Why didn't you show up anyway? Why didn't you find me when I turned 18? When I had my own phone, my own life?" He looks down at his hands, at the calluses and small scars. "Shame," he admits. "Cowardice." Every year that passed, it felt harder to show up. "I told myself you were better off. I told myself you hated me. And maybe I deserved that. The folder between them feels like a bomb that's already gone off. "Can I see them?" she asks. "The papers, the letters." He nods and opens the folder with slow, careful movements. Inside are legal documents, a custody agreement with clauses that make her stomach twist, a handwritten letter from her mother, asking him to leave quietly, a few returned envelopes, her name in his careful script, stamped with UNDELIVERABLE, and returned to sender. Megan stares, the lines on the pages swimming. Her mother's familiar handwriting is there, in black and white, asking him to vanish, to never confuse her child, to let her grow up without divided loyalties. All this time, her mother had only given her half the story. "I built my whole life on a lie," Megan whispers. "I blamed you for everything. I worshipped her for staying. And the truth is, you both broke me in different ways." He swallows hard. "I can't change what I did or what she asked. I can only be honest with you now. If you want the rest of it, the emails, the bank records, the letters I never sent, I'll show you. If you never want to see me again after that, I'll accept it." This is Megan's breaking point. She could walk out. She could cling to the simpler story she's known her whole life. Father bad, mother good. She could throw the folder in his face and never look back. The anger in her screams for that, for something clean and final. But another part of her, the part that sat by the window as a kid watching for his car, won't let her. She closes her eyes and takes a long, shaky breath. "When I was little," she says, "I used to pack a backpack every Friday, just in case you came to pick me up. I'd sit there waiting until it got dark. I told myself you'd gotten stuck in traffic, or lost, or delayed. Eventually, Mom would tell me to stop being dramatic, that you weren't coming, that I needed to accept reality." She opens her eyes and looks straight at him. "I don't know if I can forgive you, or her, but I'm so tired of living in half-truths. I want everything, all of it. No more deciding what I can handle behind my back." His shoulders shake with a breath that sounds like relief and sorrow tangled together. "Then I'll tell you everything," he says. "You deserve that." He leads her to a small office in the back of the store. It smells like paper and oil and old coffee. There are more boxes here, each one labeled with years that line up disturbingly well with the timeline of her life. He shows her the statements where he sent child support she never knew about. He shows her the early emails he wrote to her mother begging for phone calls, visits, photos, all met with silence or threats of legal action. He shows her drafts of letters to her, unsent, the ink smeared in places where his hand must have hesitated. Each piece hits her like a wave. Her anger doesn't evaporate, but it changes shape. It spreads, no longer focused like a laser on him alone. She told me you chose a new family, Megan says, voice small as she traces a date on one of the papers. That you moved on like we were luggage you forgot to pick up. I never had another family, he replies. Never married again. I tried dating once or twice. It always felt like cheating on the life I'd left behind. On you. She looks at him then, really looks. The lines on his face are deeper than they should be. His eyes are tired in that way people's eyes get when they carry the same regret for too long. I spent years, she says quietly, telling myself that if we ever spoke again, I'd scream at you until my throat bled. That I'd tell you exactly what you did to my life. But now, it's like I'm mad at two ghosts at once. And one of them is still back home making dinner and asking why I don't call as much. He flinches at that. I'm not asking you to defend her, she adds quickly. I don't know how to love someone who lied to me like that. Either of you. You don't have to decide today, he says gently, or this year, or ever, if you don't want to. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to take your time. She sits back, pressing her palms to her thighs, feeling the texture of her jeans under her fingers. Her heart still hurts, but beneath the hurt, something else is forming. A strange, fragile sense of being seen. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but more than before. Do you want me in your life at all? He asks finally, voice so soft she almost doesn't hear it. Even just as someone who answers questions when you have them. She thinks of all those years she spent inventing his answers, all the imaginary apologies and confessions she never got. I don't know how to have a dad who didn't raise me, she admits. I don't know what that looks like. Then maybe we don't start with Dad, he says. Maybe we start with Megan and Daniel. Two people who share blood and a lot of damage. We can see if anything can grow from that. Her throat tightens. It's not the grand, sweeping declaration she used to dream about. No. I'll make it up to you speeches. Just this small, honest offering. I want to try, she says, not for the version of you I invented. For this one, the flawed one who signed something he shouldn't have, and then buried himself in guilt. He lets out a shaky laugh, wiping at his eyes. That sounds about right. He reaches out, slow enough that she can pull away if she wants. She hesitates, then places her hand in his. His palm is rough, warm. That simple contact feels like a bridge over a canyon that's been there since she was a child. They sit like that for a while, surrounded by dusty shelves and old secrets. Later that evening, when Megan steps out into the cool air, Michael is waiting on the sidewalk, leaning against a lamppost. He searches her face immediately, reading every micro-expression. "Well," he asks softly. She exhales, a long breath that seems to carry years out of her lungs. "It's not what I thought," she says. "He did leave, but not the way I was told. Do you regret coming?" She looks back at the hardware store, then at him. "No," she says. "For the first time, I feel like I'm angry at reality, not at a story someone fed me." That night, alone in a small motel room that smells faintly of detergent and old carpet, Megan stares up at the ceiling. Her phone buzzes with a message from her mother. "How's your trip? Call when you can. Love you." For the first time, she reads those words differently. She realizes this whole journey wasn't about choosing one parent over the other. It was about choosing herself, choosing truth over comfort, choosing to live with a story that hurts but is real, instead of one that feels clean but hollow. The lesson isn't clean. It's not some neat moral tied up with a bow. What Megan learns is this: sometimes the people who hurt you the most genuinely believed they were saving you. Sometimes love wears the mask of sacrifice and ends up looking a lot like abandonment. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk straight into the mess they made and say, "Tell me everything. I'll decide for myself what I can handle." Her father's absence will always be part of her. So will her mother's lies. Those scars don't vanish because she knows the details now, but they do change. They stop being shapeless wounds she pokes at in the dark and become something she can trace, map, and understand. In the end, this experience isn't about forgiveness as a single moment. It's about reclaiming the right to know her own story, to decide who her parents are to her now, not who they were told to be. You've just walked with Megan through a reunion that was never going to be simple, and a truth that refuses to be tidy. Maybe you saw pieces of your own story in hers. A parent who left, a secret agreement, a silence that said more than any words ever did. If this story stirred something in you, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever discovered that the version of your family's past you grew up with wasn't the whole truth? Would you have confronted your father, your mother, or both? This has been Plot Twist Revolutions, where every familiar memory can turn on you in a heartbeat, and every quiet choice from the past echoes into the present. If you want more dark, emotional stories about family, betrayal, and the messy kind of love that doesn't fit into easy boxes, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next twist. Until then, remember, the truth might break your heart, but at least it's yours.